Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Football Bros podcast. It's your boy,
All I do is win, no matter what.
Chazz, and we got a full house today, boys. We welcome back because we have the man, the myth, the legend. We have human grumpy cat himself, Mr. Jay Coleman. Jay Coleman, what's up, dog?
What's going on, boys?
And you've got your champ here, the no nickname, no nonsense.
Yo.
You got AVH. And joining us again, we have two-time guest of the Chazzcast. We have
Hey there, little fella.
Zags. What's up, Zags?
Nah, I ain't having that drop.
Okay, fine. Here's your real drop.
Unlimited.
Hey, like a surgeon.
The fantasy football surgeon himself, Zags. What's up, dog?
What's up, boys?
You didn't like your little fella drop?
Nah, it's fine. It's accurate.
You are the shortest one of the crew.
Yeah, it's clearly. I'm the
It is
shortest guy in the
really
room every time. It's fine.
This guy in every room. Oh, boy. Yeah! All right, so we are here. We missed a week. I'm very busy. Apologize, guys. So, sad and bad news is we're probably going to have to cut our tight end preview episode. So I know all the tight ends out there, they're puckering right now and mad at us, but we're going to have to cut it, guys, all right? So, sorry.
You know what's
Oh no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, darn.
You know what's
Oh,
funny though
shoot.
is this is like the 1 year that tight end is probably the deepest it's been since like I don't even know, like 10 years maybe.
Yeah, and maybe we'll still put up the shorts of our rankings each, but we're not going to dedicate a whole episode to tight ends. So next week, guys, we're going to do our quarterback ranking episodes. So we're going to start off with a bang. Quarterbacks next week. I'm interested to see where a couple people fall in rankings. We always keep debating Jordan Love and Brock Purdy. For some reason, we attach those guys at the hip. I'm interested to see where you guys have in relation Joe Burrow and CJ Stroud, because I heard something on the radio. They're talking about fantasy football, and they were talking about Houston's defense. No, I'm sorry. They were talking about Houston's offense and comparing it to Cincinnati's offense. And this guy, clearly as day, some fantasy football expert, don't know who he was, said, well, CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans offense is way better than Cincinnati and Joe Burrow ever has been. And I almost choked. Now, remember 2 years ago when I was giving Joe Burrow a hard time saying everybody's on his dick way too fast? Guess who's the new one?
CJ Stroud. Yeah,
But
without
literally,
a doubt.
this guy said C.J. Stroud is way better than Joe Burrow has ever been. And you know I haven't been the biggest Joe Burrow guy, but come on, that's a stretch.
That's pushing it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So I want to see.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll give credit where credit is due. CJ Stroud had a great rookie season. But to say that he came out and performed better than the Bengals have ever been,
Yeah, I wish I knew
Nice.
what fantasy expert this was, but it was just kind of on in passing. So that guy should be fired. But that's not what we're here for. We are here to finish off our division rankings with the AFC and NFC East. And there's a lot of teams to talk about and a lot going on. And we should just get right into it. You agree, guys?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay.
I can dig it.
So we're going to start in the AFC with,
Reigning, defending, undisputed.
is it 4 time in a row AFC East champions, the Buffalo Bills? Is it 4 years in a row?
I
Yes.
believe it is, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, 2020, right? 21, 22, and 23, right?
Yes.
So 4 times in a row, and we'll find out at the end of the discussion if it's going to be 5 times in a row or not. There's a lot of commentary about how the Bills are going to be awful this year. Let's see how we feel. So, Jay, who are their key additions and re-signings?
Wide receiver Curtis Samuel, wide receiver Matt Collins, linebacker Nicholas Morrow, defensive line Austin Johnson, edge Dwayne Smoot, safety Mike Edwards, wide receiver MVS, re-signed AJ Epinesa, Daquan Jones, and Taylor Rapp.
Okay, and we can pair that with some pretty good, I feel, draft picks in Jay's cousin Keon Coleman, Cole Bishop, Dwayne Carter, and Ray Davis. But Adam, they're giving the Bills a lot of guff about some of their departures, so let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one, obviously, is Stephon Diggs. I guess Jordan Poyer is kind of a big one, too, but I don't know. We'll see. Mitch Morris, wide receiver Gabe Davis, Leonard Floyd, Tyrell Dodson, Dane Jackson, Tim Settle, Poona Ford, and Micah Hyde.
So definitely some big names that we lost. Also, some old names that we lost, to be fair. And we've talked about it till we're blue in the face, but this is the official episode. So they got a free agency trades grade of C-. I think that's tough to agree with. I think the only reason it's so low is because they traded away Diggs for a second-round pick next year, so it doesn't count this year. If that trade for Diggs was this year's second, I think our free agency is like a B+. I think we had an excellent free agency.
I mean, if that's what they're grading it on, then I mean, I guess.
Why would I heard a little
I don't
sigh
know.
there? Who
I
was
really
the
don't
sigh?
know.
Was that Dave? Why would it not be a B or a B+ for free agency? I think they did a good job in free agency.
I mean, I don't know. I think a C is pretty average, and I think what they did was pretty average. I mean, they brought in guys that were needed. They didn't bring any huge names here. They didn't bring any shockers, and nothing that wows me. Nothing that I'm like super excited about. It's just kind of it is what it is. And I think that's kind of the definition of average. Like, yeah, the C is probably what they should get.
I think it's a B. I think they're better at receiver overall. I think Diggs is obviously the best receiver, but we have the best receiving core in general now that we had one Diggs as opposed to Curtis Samuel and Keon Coleman bringing in. And I like MVS a lot too. Plus, they brought in Chase Claypool, who you never know. Maybe he comes back to life. Like, I actually like the way the receiver room is built now more than ever. Meaning, of course, Diggs is better than all these guys, but it's more of a well-rounded group. Don't forget about Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, and James Cook. So I actually really like this receiver core. Josh Allen's going to go back, and he's going to be looking for Curtis Samuel causing trouble in the slot. He's going to be looking for Dalton Kincaid causing trouble in the slot. Big-ass Keon Coleman, like, fighting people on the outside. Possibly big-ass Mac Hollins or big-ass Chase Claypool fighting people on the inside. The possibility of Marquez Valdez-Scantling bombing down the field to possibly drop a pass, but that's Gabe Davis, right? I mean, there's no whatever.
You're not wrong.
I mean, I just think, like, am I crazy, Jay, thinking this is a better, well-rounded receiver core than Josh Allen's ever had?
Yeah, I would probably agree that it's probably the most well-rounded receiver core we've had for Josh Allen.
Do you guys disagree with that at all?
No, well-rounded is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate to say that this is the best. And I wouldn't even say it's hard to say it's the best. It is the most well-rounded as in terms of we needed a lot of help at receiver, obviously, and we brought in a lot of wide receivers to see if we can get that help. And it's just a matter of whether they live up to what their potential is.
And here's another like comparable thing I have to it, and I mentioned it before. And I'm not saying the Bills are going to go off and win the Super Bowl, but what happened the next 2 years after the Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill? Anybody?
Super Bowl.
Little thing called the Super Bowl.
Two Super Bowl wins and a one-time NFL MVP. The Chiefs are in the same boat. Would you rather have? I mean, what's a better receiver core? Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman and Sammy Watkins, or what they have now with Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and I'm missing one of them.
Travis Kelce.
Well, yeah, Travis Kelce, but there's the Kadarius Toney, but whatever. But I mean, they have a pretty damn good, well-rounded receiving core. So, like, I think that's kind of like, if you noticed, I think the teams with the major players at quarterback are starting to be like, we don't need that alpha receiver. Let's just have a well-rounded squad. Josh, they did it with Josh. They're doing it with Mahomes. They seems like they're kind of going to do it with Joe Burrow. It doesn't seem like T. Higgins is going to get his deal, and they still didn't give Chase a deal yet. I think they'll give Chase a deal, but
They've been
I
doing
know.
it with Lamar his entire career.
Yeah. So I mean, you're right. So I think that's just the way they're kind of going.
The poor guy. They never give him anybody.
Nope.
He's got Zay Flowers, and he's just a 2-time NFL
It's
MVP.
like you throw to Mark Andrews 300 times, or you get benched, basically.
So talking about it, I'm interested to see if we all have Josh as number one. Josh has finished as the number one quarterback in fantasy football, 4 out of 5 years, and it would have been 5 out of 5 if DeMar Hamlin didn't die, or 4 out of or 3 out of 4. Well, either way, he would have 4 in a row if DeMar Hamlin didn't die because he finished second place the one year by like 12 points, and he didn't play one game. So I'm interested to see if everyone puts Josh at first, which would be playable. We have, and we'll find out next week on the quarterback ranking episode, how we feel about James Cook. I believe people are drafting him around he at RB1, 12 or 13. How do you feel about that, Jay? Your boy, James Cook. How do you feel about him going as a possible RB1 in fantasy football?
I mean, he's gonna be the RB1, so I mean, I don't know. I would probably say that he's RB1 material. I don't know if I would pull the trigger on him at RB1 though, personally.
That's where he finished. I believe he finished right around 12 last year.
Yeah, I think he's probably in line to finish right around there again.
Yeah.
And that's solely just based on the Bills' offense.
He's an RB2.
You have, yeah, and I was just gonna say I wouldn't feel comfortable if my first running back off the board was James Cook.
Yeah.
You seem very confident that he's in RB2. Why is that, Dave?
Dude doesn't score touchdowns. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. I mean, he's a great player. He's electric. He's going to get touches. I think he's probably going to get more touches than he did last year, to be honest, because I think they're getting a little bit more committed to having, a little bit more of a workhorse running back. But for whatever reason, the dude just doesn't score touchdowns, and Josh is going to scramble for like 15, and like, I don't know. I mean, if you draft him as your RB1, you're probably in a little bit of trouble. A super, super reliable RB2, though. I mean, 12 to 15 points a game is every single game for this dude is not out of reach.
Well, you're kind of making my argument that I do kind of feel comfortable for him as an RB1, and the reason is, like you said, once Joe Brady took over, he started to take off. They showed a real penchant for running the ball with him once Joe Brady took over. Now you're going into the whole offseason with him and Joe Brady. They really didn't do anything at RB2. Yeah, they drafted what's his name, Davies?
Ray Davis.
Yeah, they drafted Ray Davis and kept Ty Johnson. So they didn't invest anything. It seems like they want him to be a workhorse, and I feel the offensive line got a little bit bigger and beefier. I feel like adding those receivers that they're going to be a bully. They want to be a bully, and they want to run the ball down your throat. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not going to call it, but I would not be surprised if James Cook is a top 5 running back at the end of the season. I think they're really changing the way this offense is going to be, and he is going to be a focal point. Because if they start pounding the rock with him and creeping up those safeties, Curtis Samuel over the middle, fucking forget about it. Dalton Kincaid running right past the safeties. These teams are going to have a fit, and I think it's kind of what opened up. I think it's kind of what opened up Kansas City's offense once Pacheco got going, and I mean we can all agree that James Cook is a much more talented back than Pacheco. So if they follow that same path, I think it could be really good. So I'm interested to see too when we get to the running back rankings where we have him, but I would be comfortable with him as my number one. Probably later 10, 11, 12. I mean I would assume that's where I'm putting him. I think he's got a path for a lot of workload, and obviously he needs to be drafted. So,
he definitely needs to be drafted.
Yeah,
Me personally, I don't think I would be comfortable with him as my RB1. If I can get him as an RB2, yeah, I have no problem taking him. But he is getting drafted early in drafts as an RB1. I mean, I don't disagree with any of the points that you made, but again, I haven't seen enough out of Joe Brady and his offense. Yes, we've seen, what they wanted to kind of become, but as far as I'm concerned, it's still the same Bills relying on Josh Allen's arm. So, I'll be happy if James Cook, catches 50, 60 balls this year.
Yeah.
Dave, can Dalton Kincaid be this year's Sam Laporta? Can he just take over and maybe ascend to the top of the tight end rankings next year?
Here's the thing, Sam Laporta, I don't think so. But can Dalton Kincaid be like an absolute monster this year? Yeah, I think he could be. And I don't think the thing with Laporta is you saw a lot of big splash from him. I think Dalton Kincaid is more of that guy, like an Evan Ingram style, where it's, he might not have these huge 30-yard, 40-yard plays, but the dude could easily have games where he's got like 9 or 10 catches, all that go for, 8 or 9 yards. And I think volume alone kind of puts him in that conversation of easily being a top 5 tight end.
See, I kind of think the way you described him, I think the exact opposite. I think Dalton Kincaid is more athletic and faster than Laporta. So if they decide to use him the right way, I think so. But I don't think, to agree with what you're saying, is that's how they want to use him. I think there is a complete possibility where Dalton Kincaid leads the Buffalo Bills in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. I think it's totally possible.
I do agree with that. I just think he's going to get there chunky.
So
I don't think you're going to see a lot of splashes from Dalton Kincaid of like, wow, that was a bomb 35-yard touchdown. I think it's going to be a lot of volume, and I mean, that's not a bad thing. I just think he's going to. I think Laporta. What I mean is, like, Laporta came on and just kind of like the hype was just insane, just to see what was happening. I think Dalton Kincaid is going to go kind of the opposite route, where he's going to very quietly be established as like a top 5 tight end.
Okay. All right. So Adam, which Bills wide receiver are you taking first?
Honestly, I would feel comfortable taking Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel first. Does anybody have an opposite opinion of that?
I think that's probably the safest.
Yeah, I think that would be my safest pick is Samuel. I don't feel comfortable with Shakir at all. Sure, he has glimpses and people love him here, but I mean, it's got to be Samuel. I believe he is your number one at the moment as far as wide receivers go.
Yeah, I'm on the Samuel. I'm on the Samuel one too. What about you, Dave? What are you thinking?
I'm taking Coleman.
Okay. What Jay or Keon?
I mean, of course, Jay. Jay's always welcome on the team, dude. No, but I'm going to take Keon here. And the reason here is why I've kind of switched a little bit, right, is exactly what we were talking about. This is kind of the most well-rounded receiving core that Josh has ever had, right? So I think if you draft any of these guys, you're going to be kind of rolling the dice because I don't think any of them are going to jump up and establish themselves as an alpha wide receiver. You're going to get a lot of games where Curtis Samuel has 20 points. You're going to get a game where Keon Coleman's got 25 points. It's just going to fluctuate, right? So
I do agree with that.
Yeah, same.
What I'm looking for here is not consistency with the Bills wide receiver. I'm looking for the big playability, and when the big playability comes down to it, Keon Coleman is a beast and a huge target, and the dude that I think Josh is going to look for in the red zone when he needs to put it up there where nobody else can get it. I just think I think when you play a Bills wide receiver this year, it's going to be a dice roll, and you're going to have to count on end zone targets and touchdowns in order to get points out of the position. And just for me, Keon Coleman's that guy.
Now, I agree with you in a certain aspect of that as well, that I think out of all of them, Keon Coleman has the absolute best chance of being an alpha. When you said the word alpha, he has the absolute best chance of being alpha, except one minor little problem, and that would be Sean McDermott. And shut the fuck up, rookie, and sit the fuck down. You sit the fuck down. Nobody told you to catch 3 fucking touchdowns. You sit the fuck down, rookie. So that's my problem, and what scares me of Keon Coleman. I love the guy. I love the talent.
Here's the one thing with McDermott this year. His hand is forced. He almost doesn't have a choice because he just doesn't have the people he doesn't have the people in the room to make it happen. You know what I mean? At some point, it's like you kind of have to do this. You have to let Coleman cook because you don't have any other options.
What scares me about Keon Coleman is Chase Claypool and Mac Hollins. These are, honestly, more Mac Hollins. And the reason why is he's just as big as Keon Coleman. He blocks. He's one of the best blocking wide receivers in the league. So he blocks well. He does what the coach wants, and he's not a stupid fucking rookie. Like, guys, do not be surprised if Mac Hollins logs more stats this year than Keon Coleman. Just don't be surprised with Sean McDermott's fucking old school mentality. Just saying. Throwing it out there.
I think the Bills receivers are definitely worth drafting. Like Dave said, it is going to be a dice roll every week.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a new wide receiver every single week. You know, before when we had Diggs, when he first came to the Bills and when we traded for him, like we knew where the ball was going. It was going to Diggs, right? Whether you liked it or not, it was going to Diggs. He was catching over 100 balls every year, you know, 1,500 yards or whatever he ended up having. You knew. This year, it's going to be very spread out, and, you know, I might every once in a while, depending on matchups and who the Bills are playing, throw a Bills player in my flex if I have them on my team. I wouldn't be surprised if really, to be honest with you, you don't see any Bills receivers go until very, very late in drafts.
Well, they're going late. They're definitely going late.
Yeah.
You know, if they're drafted at all. So.
Well, here's the thing to add on to what you're saying, Adam, and then we'll move on because this is the best 3-4 quarterbacks in the league, right? Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. We'll say C.J. Stroud for all the simps. They have all of those quarterbacks have multiple receivers going in the draft before the Bills get even one. You got both guys from Philly going in the first 2 rounds, almost 3 rounds. You got both guys from Cincinnati going in the first 3 rounds. You got all 3 fucking guys from Houston going in the first 4 rounds. And you know what? Maybe it's kind of the same for Kansas City. But you still have probably Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, and maybe Xavier Worthy going before the Bills guys. So why would
you're definitely getting Hollywood Brown before any of those guys? Yeah.
So why would the Bills with Josh Allen? I understand drafting him late. But I guarantee you one of the 2 between Samuel and Coleman is going in the 3rd or 4th round next year. And I guess it just depends on who it shakes out to be. Because there's no way Josh Allen, who I think is the best quarterback in the league, but for Patrick Mahomes' sake, I'll say the 2nd best quarterback in the league. There's no way that he won't have a top 3 or 4 round receiver next year. There's no way. So, I mean, we just got to find out who it is. I mean, for all we fucking know, it's Chase Claypool, right? We don't know. So,
I mean, honestly, and just I'll be quick and then we can move on. But that's the beauty of drafting these, right? So, I'm saying, you're going to have a hard time finding the alpha, and it's going to be a dice roll. But you're drafting these dudes so late that there's no way that they're hitting your starting lineup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
regardless of who I get, whether it's Samuel, whether it's Shakir, whether it's Coleman, I want a piece of this Bills offense just to have it stashed and see how it all shakes out. Because maybe you get lucky and you grab the guy that ends up being the guy.
Yeah.
Dave, does Shakir need to be drafted?
I think he does. I mean, I think his rapport with Allen. I mean, he's been there a while. He's a good wide receiver. Am I going to prioritize Shakir over Keon Coleman or Curtis Samuel? Absolutely not. But if Shakir is there, in the late rounds, and I'm just kind of fucking throwing darts, why not? Why not just get a piece of this offense?
The last touch I'll put on this before we move on is, I think you can have Curtis Samuel play the role. Relax, Bills fans. He's not Stephon Diggs. But I think Curtis Samuel could play the role of Stephon Diggs. Plus, Curtis Samuel is electric when he runs the ball, when they do jet sweeps, which that was more of a Ken Dorsey thing, but still, Curtis Samuel could do that. So I think you could have Curtis Samuel play that role and Shakir play the role that Cole Beasley used to play. And that's kind of the best time when our offense was humming back in the day.
Yep.
Was when you had those 2. Plus, Keon Coleman on the outside, it could be good. They tried to build it like that back. Remember when we signed Emmanuel Sanders and stuff like that? So they've tried. But me and Adam saw Emmanuel Sanders sing a song in Nashville.
We sure did.
We were in Nashville watching his brother's band, and Emmanuel Sanders went up to sing. I don't remember what it was, but he was singing some country. They put country song before country music superstar Eric Van Houten. So country music superstar Eric Van Houten had Emmanuel Sanders open up for him. How about that, world?
Legendary.
Have you
All
made
right.
it in the music industry when you have Emmanuel Sanders open for you?
All right, guys, let's move on to what some people, recently, what's been the biggest threat to the crown of the Buffalo Bills, and that would be the Miami Dolphins.
No.
And we are going to, oh my God, I forgot they signed this one player. Okay, the Dolphins' big signings were Kendall Fuller, which is a good signing, Aaron Brewer, Jordan Poyer, which is a good signing because he's going to give up information no matter what anyone says, Jordan Brooks, Jonnu Smith, Tyre Tart, Anthony Walker Jr. This is the guy I forgot about. They signed OBJ. Totally forgot they signed OBJ. Braxton Berrios and Isaiah Wynn.
I think they forgot they signed him too.
I totally did. Anybody remember that? I forgot.
No, I totally forgot.
Yeah. So, and then they lost Christian Wilkins, which is huge. Deshaun Elliott, Xavier Howard, which is huge.
Huge.
Van Ginkel, Jerome Baker, Robert Hunt, Cedric Wilson Jr., and Emmanuel Agba. So their free agency and their draft grades were C and C+. But so what do we think? But you know what? Adding Kendall Fuller and losing Xavier Howard, that's a downgrade.
Yeah, I agree with that. And
Yeah.
losing Christian Wilkins on the D-line is massive for them.
Massive.
I don't find them as a threat as much anymore. And I never really did think of them as a threat, only because they have Tua.
The second richest quarterback in the NFL?
So be it, but that doesn't mean he's good.
Yeah.
And listen, Tua, he's not bad by any means, right? He's been at the top of the league, maybe not for long, but he's been up there. He has great weapons around him, but it's Tua. We all know what he can do.
I'd just also like to throw out here, can we just stop saying the highest paid person in the league? Like, we get it, guys. From now on, every quarterback that has a pulse with a chance to get you to the playoffs will now be the next highest paid person in the history of the NFL. That's just how it's going to go. So we don't have to say, oh, now the highest paid. It's every fucking quarterback that signs a deal after today.
Just remember, guys.
All you need is love.
Brock Purdy's next, right? Of course.
Yeah, Purdy's next.
Purdy's next. And then who would it be after that? Fucking Will Levis. No, you're not, baby. Will Levis. I don't know if because we have to talk about is Tua vastly underrated, and I think he is vastly underrated. Nobody's putting him in the top 10 to 12 quarterbacks as a quarterback one. He led the league last year in passing yards. Now a lot of people say he needs to get more touchdowns. Of course, I am going to make a guarantee right now. You guys can clip this and put it on the platform. Raheem Mostert is not going to have 18 touchdowns this year. I'm going to put my name on it and say Raheem Mostert at 32 years old, who's been broken every year and had a good 2-year span, not having 18 touchdowns. So if Raheem Mostert has half of that, 9 touchdowns, they got to be passing touchdowns, or are they going to go to the running backs? Who knows? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Wide receiver 3 is Odell Beckham. I mean, that's something. And it's weird because Odell Beckham doesn't fit what they do. So that makes me think like they might be changing the way they want to do things, and it could be good. I mean, I think Tua's an underrated quarterback for fantasy football this year. I think he is every year. So the touchdowns, there's no way they have that many rushing touchdowns. Fucking Raheem Mostert at 18. How many did fucking Achane have? Like they're not doing that many rushing touchdowns again. So either Tua picks up that slack or they suck. Right?
Thing with Tua, I've had him as my starting quarterback in a fantasy league, and he's your typical quarterback that you're going to get either 40 points or you're going to get 10 points. And in fantasy football, when you have a week that he has 10 points, very hard to win. Unless all of your other players are just insane that week, which is highly unlikely. So, do I think he's underrated? A little bit, yes, I do. I think Tua is better than people think. I'm not a fan of him, and I'm, of course, a little biased because I had him on a fantasy team, and that's exactly what I got. I got 1 week where he threw 5 touchdowns and 1 week where he threw 4 interceptions. It's like you, it, he's never consistent, and in fantasy football, you need a quarterback who can put up consistent points to have any chance. Needless to say, I haven't won that league in forever.
There's this weird disconnect I'm seeing with somebody like Jared Goff and somebody like aforementioned Brock Purdy. I'll take these two guys. A lot of people say that these guys aren't that great of quarterbacks, but they have great weapons. So how is Tua any different? I mean, like, Tua is not that great a quarterback, but he has some of the best weapons in the league. So, like, I just think there's some disrespect on his name. And I think you can have a worse. Adam, who is going to be better at the end of the football season in fantasy football points this year? Jared Goff or Tua?
Oh man, Jared Goff had a really good season last year, and I think they finally figured it out. I'm going to go ahead and say Jared Goff on this one.
Okay.
I do. I think Jared Goff's going to have a better season. I think they are built more for passing.
I don't know about that.
I guess they're kind of built the same way if you think about it. Miami just has a more mobile quarterback in Tua than they do at Goff, right?
Well,
so
then
I guess if you factor that in, I mean, I don't know, maybe it could be Tua, but...
Well, let me put the next question to Zags. Zags, who has the better weapons out of those two?
I mean, on paper, you would say that it's going to be Tua, but I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It's
here's the thing with Tua, right? I think he gets drafted where he should get drafted because he falls in that like crapshoot territory with me. You know what I mean? It's like if you were to tell me that week 1 of the NFL season, Tua's going to have 5 touchdowns, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Or if you were to tell me Tua's going to go for 180 and 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense too. You know what I mean? Like, it's just his ceiling and level is his ceiling and floor. The gap in between there is so monumental. And the number one thing with Tua that people don't talk about enough, I'm a big Tua fan of having him as my backup, and I take him a lot. For whatever reason, when it really comes down to crunch time in the fantasy playoffs, this dude disappears. And that's why I think Tua is always drafted so low, because the upside is there, but for whatever reason, when you really need him, he doesn't show up.
Well, there's a reason for that. It's called winter. That's why. and that, well, no, it's true, and that's another reason to consider Goff over him, even though Tua has the better weapons, is that Goff plays like 12 games a year in a dome.
Correct.
Yep. So, I mean, that's something. So, Jay, are you on the same Goff over Tua?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. So, Jay, do you think Raheem Mostert's going to have 18 rushing touchdowns?
I wouldn't say 18, but I mean, he still might put up like 10.
So, how is he going to put up 10, but people are drafting Achane in the second round? Like, something's got to give.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, well, if Achane can stay healthy, I guess then he's not going to.
Well, same thing with Mostert.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a crapshoot. Depends.
They also drafted Jalen Wright in the 3rd or 4th round.
4th round.
And he's the same fucking running back as the other two. Fastest running back in the draft, kind of small.
I love that you brought this up, to be honest, because I just want to say right now, I think there is no player that has the biggest chance to be a fantasy bust than Devin Achane.
Okay.
He is drafted so high, and they absolutely love Mostert. I mean, they brought him in, and the thing you have to remember about Mostert is, yes, a lot of running backs fall off the cliff at 30, but Mostert played a lot of his career as a backup. There's not a lot of wear and tear on those tires. They like him. They drafted somebody in the 4th round. Like, you're drafting Achane on, what you saw in like 5 games that he put up 30 points. Like, that's not going to happen 17 games. You know what I mean? And you're drafting him to be an RB1. If you're drafting him in the 1st round or in the 2nd round, you're pretty much drafting a running back that you think has a chance to finish in like the top 5, if not lead the league. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much better talent around where Devin Achane is getting drafted. I think there is no player that's hyped up other than Garrett Wilson, which we'll talk about later. There's no player that's hyped up as much as Devin Hn that has the possibility to just be an absolute disappointment.
And the last question I'll pose this to Adam. Is Tyreek Hill WR1?
Yeah, absolutely. Why would he not be?
Because there's CeeDee Lamb, because there's because there,
if we're talking over,
because
I thought you meant just on Miami,
wide receiver.
no, but what I thought was could he be your wide receiver one? Yes, of course.
No, is he
You draft it honestly with the whole contract thing and CeeDee Lamb holding out. I mean, you got to keep that in the back of your mind, but I love some CeeDee Lamb. He won me my championship, so I'm a little biased there. But I mean, yeah, if somebody took Tyreek Hill over CeeDee Lamb over Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, good for them. I mean, they got a 2,000-yard receiver.
Right. Jay, who's your wide receiver number one right now?
Probably CeeDee Lamb.
Are you going the same way, Dave?
No, I'm going Tyreek.
You're going Tyreek. So, Dave, then let me pose this question to you. The top four wide receivers in fantasy, we'll go with them. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Double J, Jamar, right? Fair?
Roughly, yeah. Fair.
Roughly?
Fair.
Okay. Who has the best quarterback out of those?
I mean, I'm going to go Jamar. You know I love me some Joey B.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't understand the hate on Jamar Chase. How he misses 4 games last year and loses Joe Burrow and still finishes as a wide receiver one, and people are taking CeeDee Lamb over him, which fantastic season. One season, right? Like it boggles my mind. Like, and obviously I love CeeDee Lamb too. He won me a championship too. But like, people are just like forgetting about Jamar Chase because he didn't have Joe Burrow and still crushed it. So that's my only like shocking thing. But yeah, I mean, if somebody takes Tyreek Hill 1, if somebody takes CeeDee Lamb 1, there's no complaints.
CeeDee Lamb had 4 good seasons in a row.
Well, no, he definitely was good, but I mean, he had one outstanding, amazing season. Like coming into, nobody was ever drafting CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, nobody was ever drafting CeeDee Lamb, even in the first round, maybe the end of the.
Not as the first wide receiver off the board. No,
not even as wide receiver 5.
You said
not even as like wide receiver 5.
He had one good season.
One really, really good season. Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
One really good season. But even last year, Dave, I believe you took CeeDee Lamb in the 3rd round in your league.
Yeah, it was super late.
Yeah, so like he was never viewed like that, but like it's fine. He had his one great year. Justin Jefferson has had 3 great years.
But that's
and
how
now CeeDee Lamb
goes, though.
I know. It's just people forget they like the new hotness, and they forget about
draft the guy that finished first.
And that I don't think that's the best option because it changes all the time, right? Well, we'll see. It's just that's why I can't wait for our receiver episode because there's so many different options, and I'm interested to see where everyone puts everybody. It's like Justin Jefferson just finished number 18 on the NFL's top 100. Why? Because he got hurt? He's been the best receiver in the league for 3 years. Now he's almost out of the top 20? It's wild to me.
It's football, man.
That's how the NFL works. What have you done for me lately?
You're
exactly
right.
what Zags said.
I mean, at the offseason last year, everybody was about ready to put Justin Jefferson in the fucking Hall of Fame. And, like, he gets hurt, and they're like, you know what? I might take Amon-Ra St. Brown over Justin Jefferson. Like, what? just wild to me.
Nature of the beast, man.
Let's move on to the New England Patriots and just get through this.
We don't have much. We don't have to fucking talk about these guys.
Let's get through it quickly. They brought in KJ Osborne. They brought in Antonio Gibson. They brought in Austin Hooper, Jacoby Brissett. Re-signed Kedrick Bourne. They brought in Drake May, Jalen Polk. They lost Mike Gesicki. They lost Devontae Parker, and they lost Mac Jones.
Let me tell you this right now. Jacoby Brissett has a shot to be the starting quarterback.
I think he will be the starting quarterback.
Well, Dave, what have you heard about training camp and Drake May?
I mean, May has looked terrible all throughout training camp, but I'm gonna be honest, dude. Like I was never high on him anyway. So,
Yeah, same,
I mean,
same.
I just
Yeah, same.
I think they drafted the player that I thought that they drafted, and Jacoby Brissett has always been a solid quarterback. He's never been a guy that you feel comfortable is going to take you to the Super Bowl, but you can win a playoff game with him.
Sure.
Now, are people sleeping on Ramondre Stevenson?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're totally sleeping on Ramondre Stevenson. They got a defensive head coach, a rookie possibly quarterback, or a new quarterback. You don't think they're going to fucking pound the rock, people? Come on.
What about your guy Antonio Gibson though?
That's the other guy they're sleeping on. That Antonio Gibson is a Patriot number 2 running back. Danny Woodhead, Shane Vereen, James White. Antonio Gibson is a Patriot way wide receiver number 2. And here's another guarantee I'm going to make. Wherever Antonio Gibson's getting drafted, I don't know, running back 30, 36, he's going to be better than that. I mean, I'm not going to say anything major, but there was times that like James White finished like running back like 15, and he wasn't even the starter. Like, I just think Antonio Gibson fits into the way the Patriots like to play football really well as their number 2.
You've been fooling me with this Antonio.
Yeah, I don't think he's even getting
49.
drafted. Like,
He's 49.
I just did a mock draft a couple days ago, and nobody took Antonio Gibson.
So running back 49, you heard it here first, folks. Antonio Gibson is going to finish the season better than running back 49. Lock it up, baby.
You've been feeding us this BS Antonio Gibson hype train for like 3 years now, and it hasn't panned out.
His first 2 years, he was an RB1, bruh.
You know what the problem with Antonio Gibson was? He didn't get shot in the ass before the season
true.
started.
Exactly.
But honestly, what I
He came
said,
back, and they had no choice but to start him.
Yeah.
but what I said about Antonio Gibson is I really mean it. Like, don't forget about him, folks. He is the perfect Patriots RB2. Everybody was drafting, I don't even remember, and James White finishes like RB15. Everybody's drafting Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, and Danny Woodhead just comes out of nowhere and catches all these passes. Like, it's their kind of guy. Lawrence Maroney, here comes Shane Vereen catching all these passes. Like, it's kind of like what the Patriots do. So those are the only people I care to talk about. Anybody else on the Patriots?
No.
I don't give a shit about
No.
the Patriots. They're no threat to the AFC East.
Okay, moving on. Next, this is going to be the fun one. We're going to move on to the New York Jettisons, the New York Jets, the New York Shets. They brought in Hassan Reddick, good signing. Mike Williams, good signing. Tyron Smith, good signing. Morgan Moses, good signing. Josh Simpson, Isaiah Oliver, Thomas Morstead, Greg Zuerlein. Didn't even know they brought in Legatron. They drafted.
He's been there. I think they re-signed him.
Maybe they re-signed him. Oh, that's right, the Jets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you're
did.
right. Malachi Corley, Braylon Allen. They lost Mekhi Becton, who was kind of a bust. Quentin Jefferson, who isn't the good one. It's Quinnen Williams is the good one. Jordan Whitehead, who was just known for picking off Josh Allen, motherfucker. They really did a good job building that offensive line. And they have a very young, athletic quarterback, right?
Totally.
I mean, they will be.
Yeah.
We still got to give
In his mind, he's young.
I'll tell you, we got to
With all that ayahuasca.
We got to give him some respect. He's got a fantastic offensive line now, so he should last long. Lock it down, folks.
Well,
Aaron
he's just gotta
Rodgers.
last 10 minutes, so.
Aaron Rodgers plays more this year than he did
4
last
snaps.
year. Lock it down right now.
I mean,
That's the lock of the week, guys.
Don't call
Lock of the year.
you better take it easy on that because I don't know if you saw today, but reports out of training camp is he's having some issues with some pain in that foot.
Ooh. Well, they built a good offensive line around him. I actually like what they did. I think Garrett Wilson and hopefully not injured Mike Williams is a pretty good 1-2 punch, honestly. I do. I do think it's a good 1-2 punch. And then Breece Hall was fucking fantastic last year. I do worry about him a little bit now. He was fantastic last year with check down Mr. Zach Wilson. Is he going to catch as many passes from Aaron Rodgers? Is Aaron Rodgers going to throw the ball to Jay? Look up Aaron Jones.
I mean, Aaron Jones did. I was going to say.
I was going to say, Jay, look up how many like receptions Aaron Jones had over the past 5 years with Aaron Rodgers. Just because that's an interesting one. I mean, I think of Aaron Jones as he catches passes, but I don't think it's like what Breece Hall did. I could be wrong about that. So it does give me slight concern on Breece Hall, but not like a major concern. Like I'm not dropping him out of the top 3 running backs. But like I do think about it a little bit, to be honest.
I'm dropping him.
You're dropping him?
I am.
Why?
I don't know, dude. He had a great season. He did, but I don't know. For my gut just says don't believe it. I just feel like where he's getting drafted, I would just feel more comfortable going elsewhere.
So from 2019 to 2022, he had. Do you want targets or you want receptions?
Just give me the receptions.
49, 47, 52, 59.
So, I mean, good, but not insane. Breece Hall had 76 receptions last year. That's huge, right?
That's
a lot
for
more
a running back.
than yeah. That's a lot more than Aaron Jones. That's almost double some of those years.
And I don't think Aaron Rodgers coming back to this team is any better for Breece Hall. I mean, and if anything, I think that hurts his value.
Well, does it help his running? And the reason I say that is because he had less than 1,000 yards rushing last year. He only had 994 yards. Basically,
he barely played the first 4 games, right?
But most of his production was in the receiving game. He had 994 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. He had 76 receptions for 600 yards and 4 touchdowns receiving.
What's his yard per carry?
It was pretty good, actually. It was 4.5.
4.5?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I just don't think that's sustainable for him.
But does it loosen up the box for him with Aaron Rodgers coming back? I don't know if it does, honestly. I mean, I don't know if people are scared of Aaron Rodgers like that anymore. I don't know. I really don't.
I don't love it. I mean, he's getting drafted consensusly as the number 3 running back off the board. But like,
I wouldn't say consensusly. It's either him or Bijan as two. But they go back and forth. I see Breece a lot over Bijan, which I think is silly.
Okay, so right there, you're taking Bijan over Breece Hall. Let's look at it here. Breece Hall or Jonathan Taylor? Who would you rather have?
It's so scary, but I guess Breece. I mean, and I like JT, but the explosion gets me. I'm taking Breece over Jonathan. I'm taking Breece over. The only one that would put up there for me, and I know it's going to be laughed at, is Saquon.
I mean,
I might put Saquon over Breece, but honestly, right now, I'm taking Breece, I think, over Saquon.
Gibbs?
You're taking Saquon
Gibbs?
over a lot of running backs, dude.
I'm taking Breece. I'm taking Breece over.
You're taking Breece?
Over Gibbs, yeah.
Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
You're taking him over all those guys?
Yeah, he's probably 3 for me. There's a chance he goes down to 4 and Quan goes to 3. But, I mean, you know how much I love Quan. But, like, Breece is probably going to be 3 because he is explosive and he's another year off of that injury, and he had 76 receptions last year. But there's fear in me that he doesn't. I mean, Saquon Barkley put up a top 12 season last year with the worst offensive line in football, no quarterback play. Now he's going to the team that has the best offensive line in football and is all-star quarterback. So that makes me giddy about it, and I still might take Breece. So I have done plenty of mock drafts. He goes 2 or 3. I mean, I'm not taking him 5th. Has anyone taken him lower than like 4? Are you, Dave?
I mean, I might. I honestly, I really might, because I think there's just, I don't know. He's setting you up for disappointment. Last season was so good that I think that like him having the ability to recreate that is going to be really tough.
Well, I know how Adam works.
I really do. I think it's going to be really, really tough.
I know how Adam works. Adam had him last year. He loves him. He's probably taking him 2 or 3, right? Of course, that's fine, and that's okay. No?
I wouldn't take
Really?
Breece Hall 2 or 3.
No,
Dude,
really, that surprises me.
Dude, no.
Because you love your guy. That was your guy. You know, I just know that you love your guys.
Well, I mean, yeah, he was on my championship-winning team, sure, but for Breece, I mean, yes, he had a great season, and of course, that's what you base fantasy football off of most of the time, right? You look at it and go, oh my God, this guy was running back 2 for the year, or whatever. Oh, okay, this is acceptable for me to take him as the second running back off the board because we all know Christian McCaffrey is going first. So Am I taking Breece Hall over Bijan? Probably not. Am I taking? To be honest with you, I'm gonna go crazy here. I'm taking Kyren Williams, dude. I don't give a fuck what you say about Kyren Williams. That motherfucker played so good, and I don't give a shit about Blake Corum.
Because let me paint it out for you the way that it gets drafted, right? Would you rather have Breece Hall and let's say Deebo Samuel, or would you rather have Jamar Chase and Kyren Williams?
Honestly, if it was me, obviously I'd take Chase. I probably wouldn't end up with Kyren, but yeah, I'd probably go Chase and Kyren.
You would probably end up with Chase and Barkley. I didn't give you Barkley because I knew it would be an automatic, but that's what I'm just saying.
But I would take Chase and Kyren. But I have Kyren a little lower, so I might end up with Chase and, I don't know, whoever else is there, Gibbs or something. But you know what I'm saying. Chase, I'm taking over Breece Hall, 100%.
I'm just saying, like, if you, the way that the drafts work out, if you take Breece Hall in the first, every way that I play this situation out, I would rather have the latter. Like, I would rather not have Breece Hall use that first pick on someone else because coming back around, I feel like the 1-2 punch that you end up with is always better.
Here's my thing, too, about the draft. If I'm drafting in the first 5 picks, I'm probably taking a wide receiver. If I'm drafting in the last 6, 7 picks, whatever, if I'm in the back half of the first round, I'm 100% taking a running back.
All right, very fair. Jay, you didn't really talk much about Breece now.
It's just the way it goes. Like, wide receivers in a PPR league are going to go crazy. You're going to get CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson off the board in the first 4 picks. And the only reason why I say the first 4, well, we'll say the first 6 picks, right, the beginning half of the first round, is because you're going to take Christian McCaffrey in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. So there's your first 5 picks, maybe.
Yeah. And I want to point out before Jay gives his answer that since in his rookie year and last year, me and Jay were very anti-Breece Hall. So I came around. Jay, did you come around yet?
I'm 50-50, and only because we don't know. I don't know. It's so much uncertainty. Like, is Rodgers coming back? Is he going to be able to be slinging the ball like he wants to? So that means less work for Breece. Or is he going to be, looking like Peyton Manning throwing ducks up there, and they're going to end up running more or something? I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, you said ducks, so I got the goose drop here. So I just wanted to point that. So Jay, you've been very open about not hating but being down on Bijan. Are you taking Breece or Bijan?
Probably Bijan.
Are you taking Kyren above those guys?
Fuck yeah, I am.
Yeah, buddy. I knew you'd say that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Tyler's my guy.
That is so.
Tyler is my guy,
man. He had a great half a season. Half a season, 100%.
I traded for Kyren Williams so early on in seasons. If I didn't end up having him on my team from waivers, he is my keeper in 3 out of my 5 leagues.
I mean, I cannot argue. He had a great half a season, like their second half of the year. He was awesome. I can't argue that, but like to take him over those guys, I mean, he didn't have a good year at all more than Breece Hall, not even close. So like, it's just okay. I mean, it's a wild. Okay, you are very much allowed to think somebody's going to be better than they were last year, 100%. So that's fine.
To me, it's no different than you riding Saquon's dick every year. So I mean,
or riding Bijan's dick. So totally fine. Okay, cool. So that's it for the AFC East. We're going to go over the NFC East. I think this will be a little quicker. Half of this discussion was about the Bills. So I think this one will be quick because there's only a couple people to talk about, actually. And that's the Dallas Cowboys. So their key additions, the only one to really talk about is bringing back Zeke. They lost Pollard. They lost Tyron Smith. They lost Michael Gallup. They didn't do much. So bringing back Zeke, I put Zeke right where he was last year, like a top 26 running back, because he's got a pulse and he's a technical starting running back on a team. So like he's going to be drafted. He's going to be an RB3, maybe 4. That's about it. I mean, we already kind of touched on where CeeDee Lamb's going. There's safety in CeeDee Lamb in the top 5 picks of the draft, right?
Yep.
Total safety. So what about the disrespect of Dak? Why is Dak going number 9 when he was like, I believe, QB1 last year?
Because as Dave puts it, Dak is a fantasy playoff bum.
I mean,
Even though they make it to the playoffs.
he brought me and you championship last year.
No, CeeDee Lamb brought me a fucking championship last year.
True.
And
Dak was
Breece
both of
Hall
our
and
quarterbacks.
Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, me too. We had the same team.
I just had to throw a quarterback in there.
It was great.
We did have the same team, though.
I think there is disrespect with Dak. Like, why?
I've always liked Dak. I don't know why.
Why is
I don't know.
Brock Purdy going above Dak? Why is Brock Purdy going above Dak?
Because he's the truth.
That's a good question.
Why is Brock Purdy going above? And if we don't want to pick on Brock Purdy, why is C.J. Stroud going above Dak? Why is Jordan Love going above Dak? Maybe but Dak finished above them last year.
Here's my thing, dude. I'm a big proponent of not taking a quarterback early, okay? Because everybody drafts quarterbacks so early. You're getting Josh Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Lamar, all off the board in like round 3 and 4. But sometimes I've seen Josh Allen go in the first round. I've seen Josh Allen go in the second round. All these guys.
In Buffalo, he's definitely going first round.
Yeah.
100%. People will just want Josh Allen. But and rightfully so. He's the number one quarterback in fantasy the last time. We said it earlier. But, dude, give me Dak Prescott in the 10th round, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Please let me have Dak in the 10th round.
Jay, you're really going to draft Brock Purdy over Dak Prescott?
Probably not. I just wanted to annoy you because
No, I know. You figured. But, like, come on. Like, people are. But, like, that's wild.
Oh, for sure.
Me. But Brock Purdy does have better weapons.
Also, like value wise too. Like, I would rather take Dak in the 10th round than take Brock Purdy in the 4th round.
No, they're close.
Like if they're but I'm saying like if like the hype is there, like someone's gonna reach for Brock Purdy probably, especially like when QB start going. So like value wise, like I would rather get a better player in the 4th round than someone who's going to be like, oh, I'm going to take Brock Purdy right now and get.
That's the thing with fantasy,
Dak in the
Jay. I completely agree with you. The minute somebody takes a quarterback, everybody's immediately like, oh shit, I got to get a quarterback. Because then you're gonna see Josh Allen go, and then immediately you're gonna see Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, right back to back to back to back, and it's like, dude, why? You just waste like Deebo Samuel is sitting there in the 4th round, like. Craziness,
guys. I'm a little nervous. Zags is awfully quiet on this right now, so he's got something like, and I'm wondering what it is.
Right. I mean, I think the problem with Dak is we've seen him be really awful, and that
is also true.
That's why he's being ranked where he is. I mean, think about it this way: if you look at Dak Prescott, he had statistically his best season ever last year. Correct.
Yep.
He still finished as QB4. You know what I mean?
Was it 4 really?
Yeah, I think he finished at like 4 or 5. So we've seen kind of the best of the best, and it still wasn't good enough. But we've also seen him be really, really horrific. You know what I mean? And I think you got to have that in your mind. Like
to defend Dak, he was 3.
Okay, 3. So I mean, still, statistically his best season ever with his number 1 wide receiver in fantasy, and still finished at 3. Right. So, and like I said, we've seen him be really, really bad. So I think that's why he is where he is. And I think that's probably a good spot for him. If we're going to be honest, when it comes to QBs, my magic number is 8. I have 8 guys in my QB rankings that if I leave the draft with, I feel very confident about. And then after that, the rest is a total crapshoot from like 8 to 20.
Okay.
And Dak does not fall in that 8. He does not. If I'm leaving my draft with Dak Prescott as my QB1, fine, but I'm not feeling like super juiced about it.
I'm the same. Like I'm happy with it, but like not doing backflips.
Here's my thing with the Cowboys. Their defense is so good. They're the number 1 scoring defense in the league. So when Dak is bad, you know their defense is the one scoring touchdowns. Prime example, last game of the season, they scored 40 points against the Giants. Dak Prescott had 143 yards passing.
He did awful against the Bills too.
His game against the Bills, he had 134 yards and 1 interception.
I remember that game because I had Dak in one league and Josh Allen in the other, and they both were awful. I always remember that game. So it's interesting with Dak. We'll see our rankings. And the last one to really mention before we move on is the tight end, Jake Ferguson. You know, people are hyped on him. Guy finished 9th last year.
Championship team, baby.
there's room for improvement there. I mean, in argument, Dalton Kincaid finished 11th last year. So, but it's just weird to see that like Jake Ferguson is like people are hype on him, and he finished behind Cole Kmet last year. That just blows my mind, actually. Like it just didn't think about it, but he's definitely a top 10 option going in. But no, Adam, you're not putting him like top 5 or anything. Come on.
Jake Ferguson? Oh no, I'm just saying he was on my championship winning team. I'm just I'm
He-
just, no big deal, right?
He's a
But
great
I mean,
great
he's,
one.
he's a viable option for sure. And then tight ends, we always hate on the tight end position because you have your 5 guys right that are good, and every tight end after that, you're just hope. It's a hope and a prayer that they're going to get some sort of volume to help you put at least 10 points on the board for your tight end.
Yep, very true. All right, let's move on. We've got a couple more teams to talk about. We got who's up next here? We got the
Giants.
New York Giants. Let's move through this very quickly. They have brought in Drew Lock and Isaiah McKenzie and Allen Robinson. What?
Yep. He's
The
back
man
on
that
the
won't
Resurrected.
die. And Devin Singletary and Malik Neighbors. And they lost Quan. And they lost Tyrod. I'm still hopeful on fantasy football wise, Daniel Jones wise, of being resurrected and being a top like 13, 14 quarterback. I think he could do worse with Daniel Jones as a backup, but I mean, he had a top 10 season 2 years ago, started off shitty last year and got hurt. Guy needs one more chance with Brian Daboll. His first year with Daboll, he was a top 10 option. So, but he's not going to be in my top 10, 12, 13 anyway. He might be one of my higher backups. Nobody really likes him here. What about Devin Singletary, though? Devin Singletary is coming in. He's had a good couple of years. He is the number 1 option. They have nothing else. Like, is he getting slept on a little bit, Jay?
Probably. I mean, and like he wasn't bad for the Bills. Like obviously he didn't score as much as you would want, but like he had really high yards per carry and all that. So, and now, yeah, you're right. No one's behind him, so they got nothing. So like he's got to produce.
Yeah. And Zags, if you remember correctly, pretty short towards the end of the season, Devin Singletary was awesome.
I mean, Singletary was great. I think people are sleeping on Singletary right now, getting drafted right around RB 30, so not even an RB 2. He's an RB 3.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude's a starting running back, and
Going with Daboll.
going with Daboll, where if I'm not mistaken, Daboll was around when Singletary was our RB1, right? So there's a reason why he was brought over. I mean, Daboll likes Singletary. There's nobody behind him, like you said, and I just to think that this dude isn't going to finish as an RB2 off volume alone is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's being slept on, but their first major asset that's going to be drafted, Adam, is rookie receiver Malik Neighbors. And this is one of the most exciting receiver prospects that I can remember in a while. I know everyone likes, and granted, Marvin Harrison more, and that's fine. But Marvin Harrison, by the way, is going like in the second round, wild as a rookie. But did you know Malik Neighbors is getting drafted in like the 3rd or 4th round? He would be the highest rookie drafted wide receiver in fantasy football history if it wasn't for Marvin Harrison. So, like, this guy's got a lot to live up to, but I love the talent. So, pulling a trigger on him on the 3rd is tough for me. Him coming down to the 4th or 5th, I feel you could do a lot worse than Malik fucking Neighbors in the 4th and 5th round when you're pulling out maybe, I don't know, Rashee Rice, who could be great, of course, but he could be suspended.
Yep.
When you're throwing out, even though I love him, Keenan Allen, who's in jumbled mess over there. So like, I'm big on Malik Neighbors. So, and I know the price is steep, but you got to do what you got to do. You guys are a little more anti-rookie, so. But talk about no competition whatsoever. No competition.
I think he's going too high, and this is 100% not talking about Neighbor's skill. I think he is just an absolute freak of an athlete. This is 100% just his situation. I realize he's stepping into a wide receiver 1 role with 0 competition, but Daniel Jones, I'm sorry, dude, is just horrific. He is horrific. He is absolutely awful. And I've seen, footage come out of camp of him just overthrowing, underthrowing, missing wide receivers. Like, he's absolutely terrible. And I know you talk about Daniel Jones being a decent fantasy quarterback, which I'm not going to disagree with you on. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that he takes off a lot for whatever reason, even though he's not super athletic. So, like, I don't know, to draft a guy in a third round when I'm looking at Daniel Jones I'm relying on Daniel Jones to make this guy great. I can't do it.
But people make that mistake.
you guys
with
see?
so many people? Like people make that mistake with Malik Neighbors. I'm sorry, not Malik Neighbors. Marvin Harrison's going in the first or second round, and he's got Kyler Murray. What about Devontae Adams? He's going in the second round with fucking Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, but the problem with that is these guys have proven.
Gardner Minshew, please.
True.
Kyler
Okay.
Murray.
What about Olave? What about Olave going with Derek Carr? Like, I mean, it's Malik Neighbors is a way better wide receiver prospect than Olave.
But Aiden O'Connell has sustained Devontae Adams. Kyler Murray made it work with DeAndre Hopkins. Like, who has Daniel Jones made a wide receiver one in his entire career? I can't think of one name.
Also, one thing too is that like all the teams know that there's no competition besides Malik Neighbors, so they're just going to double them up just because they're going to force them to go to other people and they don't have shit to throw to. So it's like they're just going to be like, okay, go try and throw to Neighbors because we want to force you to throw to someone else. So that's going to be an issue as well.
Sometime.
Did you guys see? I can't remember who it was who said this, but there was an analyst that had apparently talked to a former Bills receiver that was saying that Daniel Jones is way more accurate than Josh Allen. And then the next cut to the video was like him missing a 5-yard out route. Did you see that video?
Josh Allen was very inaccurate when he was younger too, until Dayball got a hold of him. That's what makes it. That's what makes me feel that there's something in Daniel Jones that could be had. But that's the only thing. I mean, I said it from the get-go. Daniel Jones reminds me of Josh Allen as a young Josh Allen. Can he put it all together? Right. That's and he made it work. Oh, I'm sorry. He meaning Dayball made it work. Right? So that's the only reason I have any okay, so I just pulled up my most recent mock draft here, just from 11 days ago. So Malik Neighbors went in the middle of the 4th round, okay? And here's who went after him. So actually it's a little higher than I expected because we say middle of the 4th round, but he's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. He's a 22nd receiver drafted. So that's pretty deep already. It's just that receivers are going like crazy. So he was drafted after Cooper Kupp and Jalen Waddle and Michael Pittman, but he was drafted before DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, Tank Dell. I mean, looking in there, I think that's a good group to have. DK Metcalf, it's kind of in the same boat. He's had a great season, but he's kind of got no quarterback and been whatever. Devontae Smith, I feel that's a little late, but he's a wide receiver too. Tank Dell's a wide receiver 3 now. So, just interesting.
Yeah, I think you make the argument over Dell. But I don't know if I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'd feel more comfortable with Metcalf.
I'd feel more comfortable with Smith. Metcalf's iffy for me.
Yeah, Smith. I'd feel more comfortable with Smith over Neighbors.
And then even after that, Higgins, wide receiver 2. Zay Flowers, done nothing yet. George Pickens, done nothing yet. Amari Cooper, who I feel is tremendously disrespected. Keenan Allen and Christian Kirk. So, I think he's getting drafted in the right area, but I mean, what do you? Are you taking most of those guys over him? I'm not taking most of those guys. I'm probably taking Smith. I don't know about
Allen.
Higgins.
I'm taking Kirk. Yeah.
Dude, Allen went 12 picks later.
Absolute steal.
Yeah.
He's an absolute steal this year.
No,
Caleb Williams.
14 picks later. The problem is Keenan Allen is their number 2, possibly number 3. Who knows how good the rookie's going to be? So, I mean, that's the scary part of Keenan Allen. That's all. You know I'm the biggest Keenan Allen stan there is. So, I understand. And I don't understand George Pickens' love. Is the wife listening, Jay?
No. Speaking of, did you guys see Russell Wilson slap the shit out of Justin Fields today?
No.
There was they were doing practice today, and Justin Fields threw a touchdown and looked at Russell Wilson and said, "You're the most expensive backup quarterback in the league and should be making Subway sandwiches at Subway." Russell Wilson slapped the shit out of him.
Unlimited.
That's awesome. That's great.
Kind of hilarious.
It's great.
That's awesome. Very, very well done. All right, let's move on. 2 more teams to talk about. We said this was going to be a quick episode. We're fucking liars. But we're right on where we've been. So we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Very good last year until the end of the season, until the Bills lost to them last second, and then they kind of went downhill after that. Lost to the fucking Buccaneers in the playoffs. Their big signing, obviously, Saquon Barkley. They also brought in Paris Campbell. They brought in Devontae Parker. Did not know that, to be honest. But I don't think it matters.
Actually, I'm pretty sure he retired.
Okay, well, it says
Yeah,
they.
I think he did retire. He just recently retired, I believe.
Okay.
Just
And
hope
then,
this is updated.
And then they brought in, and then they lost. Nobody big on the offense to talk about other than Marcus Mariota. But of course, as always.
Jason Kelsey. They're
Oh, you're
close to
right.
the line.
My bad. You're correct. You are correct because that's very important. Good call.
DeAndre Swift.
But they upgraded. But you're right. DeAndre Swift being gone, but I do feel Saquon's an upgrade. But free agency trade grade, of course, A. Draft grade, A+. Overall grade, A+. It's the fucking Eagles. They always do everything right. Is anybody taking Jalen Hurts number 1?
No.
No.
No. Same. Is anyone taking somebody else number 2?
Possibly.
I mean, it's hard to argue, but I don't know. You probably could make the case, but like I think Hurts is kind of locked in.
I'm going to make the case right now. Make the case right now for you. I'm taking somebody over. Well, probably no official rankings till next week. I'm not going to be surprised if Jalen Hurts is my number 3, 4. Like, reason being, I truly believe, and Adam just touched on it, that he is not getting all those rushing touchdowns. He's going to have a bunch, but he's not getting all those rushing touchdowns. Why would you give all that money to Saquon Barkley? And you lost the man that made it happen with the tush push. I feel that play was about 70% Jason Kelsey, 30% Jalen Hurts. I really do feel that with my soul. So with him losing all those touchdowns, still going to be a good quarterback. I just think someone's going to jump over him. I think that someone could be Patrick Mahomes. I might have Mahomes as my number 2. I might have Anthony Richardson as my number 3, but I'm not there yet. So right now, off the top of my head, I'm having Hurts as 3. There's nothing that Hurts can do that Anthony Richardson can't running the ball. So that's but Hurts has the better weapons and the better offense right now. So that's why it's there. But I wouldn't be surprised if Patrick Mahomes is my number 2. But you don't lose Jason Kelsey and you bring in Saquon Barkley to shove Hurts up the middle for all that, to get him hurt. I truly believe that. So, but he'll be 3 or 4. Both receivers. My cats are fighting or something. Knock it off. I'm getting a little over on A.J. Brown. I'm sorry, over's the wrong word. I'm getting a little like eye-rolly on A.J. Brown. Like, people are starting to take A.J. Brown in like the top 7 picks of the fantasy football draft. I just think that's wild. I really think that's wild to me. I'm seeing A.J. Brown go over people we've talked about like Bijan and Breece Hall. Man, I just think like this receiver worship is like getting out of control. I look at A.J. Brown, he's got great stats. I do not. In this last mock draft, and mind you, this is 11 days ago, A.J. Brown went 9th overall. Ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs, ahead of Jonathan Taylor, ahead of Saquon, ahead of ETN. So, like, man, he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He was the 6th receiver and 9th overall. I mean, are you guys taking A.J. Brown in the top, like, 8 picks?
Do you tier out your wide receivers?
Yes.
Is A.J. Brown in your tier 1?
No.
See, A.J. Brown is the last wide receiver in my tier 1, and I think for a lot of people he is. And I think that's why you see A.J. Brown getting drafted early, because when those top 5 wide receivers come off the board, it's like if you want kind of that tier of wide receiver, he's your last option, and you better grab it.
Looking at it off the top of my head, I got A.J. Brown as the number 2 receiver in my tier 2. I have the number 1 receiver in tier 2 is Amon-Ra. I don't put Amon-Ra in tier 1, and I don't put A.J. Brown in tier 1. But
See,
they're
all
right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you could probably tier them out the way that you have them tiered out, but I just kind of have them tiered out the top 6, and A.J. Brown's the last guy. So that's why I think he goes higher. Because those first 5 come off the board, you're just like, if I want a boss wide receiver, like that's the one right there.
And then Puka went 10th overall. This receiver worship's going crazy to me. You two were a little quiet on A.J. Brown in the top 8 picks. Like, come on, man. Somebody vindicate me, because that seems wild to me.
I can see it both ways, like Dave said. Like, yeah, if you're looking, like, if you have them kind of lingering between your tier 1 or tier 2, you're probably going to take them a little bit earlier than most people would if you want that tier 1 type wide receiver. So, but I can see him being in the tier 2 and you thinking that's too early. So
I will say though, even though I have him in my tier 1, in the back end of the draft, I'm not taking A.J. Brown. If I'm in the back end of the draft, I'm grabbing one of those running backs. So I see the tier 1 situation, but I also agree with you. Going 8th overall is insane.
yeah,
And to be
overall is crazy.
And to be fair to this drafter, and this was a sleeper draft, he went 0 running back because he went A.J. Brown, Laporta, Samuel, Neighbors, Kirk, Richardson. He didn't take a running back to round 7 in Nick Chubb. So that guy
He's
made
not even going to play the first half of the
right.
season.
So, I mean, it was a mock draft, but this guy made it.
Maybe. I mean, he got hurt early, so there's maybe a chance, but.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
I've seen Chubb go as late. Like the last one that I did, Chubb went in like the 8th round or some shit.
So if that guy would have did it, but it wouldn't look so bad. So this guy took A.J. Brown 9th overall. He took Sam Laporta in the 2nd round, but he could have taken in the 2nd round ETN, Kyron Williams, Derrick Henry, Achane. He decided to go to Laporta. But if he started off A.J. Brown and Kyron Williams, we wouldn't be that upset. But like, it's still in my head. I might be stuck in a certain mindset. It just seems like it should be the other way around. But that could be just me.
Like I said before, if I'm in the first half of the draft, I'm taking a top wide receiver. If I'm in the second half of the first round, I'm taking a running back. And I'm probably pairing it with a running back in the 2nd round too.
Okay. And then to continue on them with the receivers, we talked about him later. Devontae Smith went in the 4th round, but he should be earlier. But I mean, no. I mean, he was the 25th receiver drafted. That seems about
I think 4th
fair.
Is fine.
Yeah.
4th round is fine for Devontae Smith. I mean, he had just barely over 1,000 yards last year.
Seems about
he had
fair.
He had the same amount of touchdowns as I'm looking at their stats right now. A.J. Brown had 106 receptions for 1,456 yards, 7 touchdowns. Devonta Smith had 81 receptions for 1,066 and 7 touchdowns. So the touchdowns are spread out between the two, which is fine.
The yardage is different.
The yardage is tremendously different.
But the catches were kind of similar, right?
106
off.
to 81.
Oh, no. Okay. So I'm fine with Devontae Smith in the 4th round. I like the kid, but there's just so many options.
yeah.
Dave, are you taking Devontae Smith or Stephon Diggs?
I'm going to go with Diggs.
Okay, that's how he went in this draft. Adam, are you taking Devontae Smith or Deebo Samuel?
I'm taking Debo.
Jay, are you taking Devontae Smith or Drake London?
Devontae Smith.
Well, Drake London went in the 2nd round.
I've noticed that about Drake London, and the simple fact is that now they have Kirk Cousins. Now he's going just crazy high.
Yeah, he's flying. But I do like Devontae Smith so much. Oh, what's up, Saints Joe in the chat? Before we get to the last team, I kept him here to the end because we've always debated this guy in this show. But Saquon Barkley, man, I've always loved him. He's on the best team ever. He's got the best offensive line in the league. He went in the 2nd round in this mock draft, but he was RB6. So he went, just like I kind of said, it went Christian, Bijan, Breece, Gibbs, Taylor, Saquon. Spoiler alert for me, Saquon is definitely going above Gibbs and Taylor. So he's probably my RB4, but there's a chance he slides up to 3 for me. So I love him, and I've always loved him, and I think he has the chance to finally like be allowed to like run the ball and have some fucking space and be able to work and not have to worry about nothing around him. I just think he's so talented, and he can really, really make it happen here. Is anybody super low on Saquon other than trying to make fun of me for loving him?
Listen, I did a mock draft the other day, like 2 days ago. My first pick was Saquon Barkley at number 12. I got Saquon and then went Kyron to pair.
It's a good start. It's a good start. What do you think, Dave? You were going to say something.
I'm not fighting you at all. Saquon's going to feast this year.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, finally. But, I mean, it's just all signs are pointing to it. Like, are you guys taking, we love him, and this is a fun debate, Gibbs over Saquon Barkley?
Can't do it. As much as people are high on Gibbs and the talent's there, and they should just make him a workhorse. It's like Montgomery's there, dude. Montgomery is there, and he's gonna eat into time. He's gonna eat into touches. He's gonna eat into touchdowns. Like everybody waiting for Jahmyr Gibbs to be this three down back with 1,600 yards and 20 touchdowns. Like it's never happening. It's never. Gonna
He's
happen.
not built for it either.
It's just never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not built for it, so I'm surprising. And like Taylor, I'm easily taking Barkley over Taylor, and I know Jay hates Taylor. Where do you guys stand on that?
With Anthony Richardson words are very hard. With Anthony Richardson coming back, I feel more comfortable with Jonathan Taylor this year than I did last year. And that was only because Richardson was a rookie. We all saw what he did. And then he got hurt and missed 90% of the season.
We got a guest.
I'm okay with Jonathan Taylor this year.
What's up, Banks?
No, Pantera. Okay, Saint Joe in the chat said that, Dave, you love running backs, and he won't be surprised if you take 6 again to start your draft.
I do love running backs, but let's just use some common sense here. I mean, Barkley is going to have the better season than Gibbs.
Okay. All right. One more team to talk about for 20 seconds. Now, this is interesting to me. I do want to ask a very certain question on this team, and that is going to be the Washington Commanders.
Dude, you almost got us canceled.
They brought in Austin Eckler, your boy. Your 2 boys. You guys loved him. I don't know if Jay loved him per se.
No.
They brought in Marcus Mariota, championship. They brought in Bobby Wagner, Jamison Crowder, drafted Jaden Daniels, lost Gibson, and Jacoby Brissett. So, I don't know. They have good receivers, but like it's just rookie quarterback. I mean, you're getting their receivers late. Like you're getting Terry McLaurin. Like where was he in this mock draft? Late, super late. Let me try to find him.
Late, 8th
Like-
or 7th round, maybe.
Terry McLaurin, 6th round.
6th round, yeah.
Rome Odunze went before him. So you're getting McLaurin late, and the other guy, Jahan Dotson, I couldn't even tell you. I don't feel like finding him. Oh no, there he is, 13th round. Good, better quarterback now, hopefully. The running back situation, Austin Eckler and Brian Thomas. I just got shot in the ass. Or Brian, I just got shot in the ass. Robinson. It's. I think they're all going to be better because they have a better quarterback.
I think
So-
they're sleeping on these RBs this year.
Yeah, I think they're sleeping on your boy Eck. He had an awful year last year. Well, now he's coming into a role which he's been built for as a pass catching back out of the backfield. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Eckler
Never mention that name in front of Zags again.
I feel like Eckler can have one of his best seasons, not best, but one of his better seasons, a better season than people are expecting.
He's going to have his most return on value season, right?
Yeah,
So the market has now corrected itself on both Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. So this is the year where these guys are going to return on the value for you. Because if you were to tell me that like Brian Robertson finishes as running back 16 on the year, right? I'd be like, okay, that's a definite possibility. He could definitely be an RB2. You know what I mean? And you're getting him at RB3 value. Austin Eckler is just an absolute afterthought, and a lot like we talked about with James White and like those types of guys. That's going to be his role this year. He's not a 3-down back. He's going to be the pass catching back.
I do want to clarify, though, in this mock, just one mock, he went before Robinson. They were close, though. Eckler went 5th pick in the 8th round, and Brian Robinson Jr. went 1st pick in the 9th round. So they were close to each other. So around Eckler, before. See, I think I might go Eck in a PPR. But just before Eckler, it went Pollard, Mostert, Javonte Williams, Eckler, Jonathan Brooks, Zach Moss, Jalen Warren, Brian Robinson Jr.
Talk about sleepers, man. If you're not taking Tajay Spears over Pollard this year, you're out of your board.
I agree with you.
I'm sorry. I'm calling it now. I think Tajay Spears has a way better season than Tony Pollard.
I agree with you there. But I think I think you could do a lot worse than grabbing Eckler in the 8th round. So
sure.
It's very so I think they have hidden potential at all their positions. I think their guys are going to be sleepers, but the main one I want to touch on is one of the most athletic, electric running back, receiver, wide receiver, built quarterbacks. This is an athletic. This guy could play wide receiver in the NFL. He is so fast. He won the Heisman Trophy. He's a 2nd overall draft pick. You know how running quarterbacks can change your team. Jaden Daniels, you could have nothing around you and just rack up the points with your running, i.e. Lamar Jackson, right? So, man, you could do so much worse than having Jaden Daniels as your number 2 quarterback. And I still got to do my rankings. There's a chance Jaden Daniels ends up as like number 12, but probably not for me, but close because he's so electric. But honestly, man, this kid's electric. And I know Dave's usually on the same idea with me of that, of like, great rookie prospect quarterback, put him as like your number 1 backup kind of thing in fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't draft a backup QB anyway. So, I mean, if you're going to do it, I mean, fuck it. Take a shot. Especially if you're in, like, a keeper or something like that. You grab him in the 16th round and stash him. See if then, the second half of the season he ends up being, great. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what. If you really need the spot, my backup QB is the first one to get dropped, always.
Well, my theory on that is the earlier I draft a quarterback, the later I don't even think about backup quarterback. If I have Josh Allen, I don't draft a backup. Although I drafted Josh Allen last year, I also drafted Jordan Love, which I traded for Jalen Waddle, and then I traded Jalen Waddle for Stephon Diggs, so I fucked myself. But it sounded good at the time. Here's a thought, and I don't think this is crazy, Adam, so I'll pose this question to you. What if you waited on court, and this is tough for you because you're fucking you're racist to rookies. But like, what if you waited on quarterback, and you started the season with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels?
Not gonna lie to you, that does not sound appealing to me at all.
It sounds awesome to me, to be quite honest.
But if that is how I decided to do my draft this year, I mean, realistically, where am I getting Caleb Williams? Because like Dave said, if it's a keeper league, people are going to start drafting him earlier than you really hope for.
Yeah, we're just talking about
same with Jaden Daniels, probably.
Regular.
If I don't draft a quarterback until like round 12, 13, God, if those guys are still there at that point, I mean, at that point, I have no choice but to take a shot.
Well, you're a little more.
They're both starting quarterbacks. They both have to figure it out very early on. Take a stab, and hopefully one of them turns out great. That can be a starting quarterback, kind of like the Anthony Richardson thing. Like, nobody drafted him early. Everybody got him super late as a backup, and he ended up being great. Started a couple games, and he was on his way to, the game that he got hurt and knocked out for the rest of the season. Like, he had like 17 points in like the first quarter.
Dave, you're a little more giving when it comes to rookies. So what do you think about that?
I mean, if I'm leaving with both of those guys, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not feeling great about it. But also, like I said, like my number is 8, and I'm pretty stingent on this. Is like, I have 8 dudes that I feel comfortable leaving my draft with as my QB, and then outside of that, like it's a fucking total crapshoot. So and Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are not in that 8. So I mean,
That's exactly what my point is.
I'm
is
taking
like,
2 stabs. I'm taking 2
Yeah.
stabs. At whatever.
exactly.
It's
If
whatever.
I'm desperate for quarterbacks,
the idea.
here's the thing though. If I get one of those guys and not the other, I'm not happy. If I get both of those guys, I'm a little bit more happy than I would be with one or the other. You know what I mean?
How would you approach that, Jay?
I don't know. It's too hard.
I know how Jay would approach it. He'd take like Justin Herbert, who's a little lower.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's fair.
Probably.
That's fair too. For me, I can honestly see in Caleb being like my number 12, and Jaden being my number 13. And if they're both there, I did this in the league that I won last year. In the 9th round, I took Anthony Richardson. In the 10th round, I took Dak Prescott. So like that kind of goes to like my theory of like the lower I draft a quarterback, the higher I draft the backup. So
See, but I do think that if you're going to go that route, though, you should be a little bit timid on the situation and maybe a little bit more conservative. So, like, you probably don't want to end up with Caleb and Jaden Daniels.
Oh no, but I do, Dave. I do, and I know with your conservative play, and I get where you're coming from. But the chance of one of those two breaking out is high. One of the two. The chance of one of those two breaking out is high. And if I want someone fucking a little more conservative, I'll go pick up fucking Kirk Cousins off the waiver wire. Or I'll go get Aaron Rodgers off the waiver wire. Or I'll go get, I don't fucking even know. But you know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you what, I'm very
I just
happy if
feel
I
like
draft Matt Stafford late and then I end up with like Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, so like that's the reason. Like I feel confident that one of these two are going to break. Caleb Williams has got all the arm talent and all the weapons. Jaden Daniels got all the leg talent and like freedom to do what he wants. He's got Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, Kyler Murray was fantastic under Cliff Kingsbury. So that's kind of why I'm feeling like he could be the guy. So like one of those two is going to be much better. One of those two is going to be a top 10 quarterback. I really feel that way. I haven't put my name on either for sure, but I really do feel that way. So it's interesting. We'll see. And we'll see next week, folks, when we have our quarterback rankings.
Yeah,
I guess we will. Yeah, he does.
Man, hey, I mean, how happy would you, even though I won the championship with Dak Prescott, I think I would have even been more of a monster if Richardson didn't get hurt, and I took Richardson first. So, I mean, honestly, I do. I feel very confident, but not confident enough where like I'm waiting on quarterback and doing that. But like, if the draft falls that way, I'd be very comfortable going into the season with one of those. Listen, I didn't make the championship, but Joe Burrow fucked me so hard last year in the one league, and I made it to almost to the championship by putting in Baker Mayfield, by finding Jordan Love. You know what I mean? So like, it can be done. Doing that, the one league, out of the 4 main leagues, the one league I go with Josh Allen. This league I don't do too well. Well, I did fine. I was playoffs. The other league I take my guy that I thought was going to be great, Justin Herbert, got hurt, fucked me. I buy in on Richardson, but I backed him up early with Dak Prescott. I won the championship. And in the other league, I draft Joe Burrow early, fuck myself, take Jordan Love, do pretty good. So like, I experienced all sorts of emotions. I experienced the entire quarterback world last year in fantasy football. So I'm all over the place with it. And the team that I won the championship with, I waited and drafted 2 quarterbacks back to back, and that worked for me last year. So it's kind of why it's in my head this year. That's all. So that's the end of the episode, guy. We made it another hour and a half. How you feeling? You alive over there, Adam?
Dude, I've been up since 6 o'clock this morning, so it's I'm struggling, but we're here. We're here. We made it.
Yeah, you're falling asleep before Jay.
I know.
I know.
It's interesting. So you boys got homework to do. You got to do your quarterback ranking. So let's get quarterbacks. We usually do the top 20. Do the top 20 quarterback rankings. I want to see where everyone lands.
Easy.
And everything. I want to see where Adam puts Will Levis. Tighten up.
Probably top 5.
Top 5. Trevor Live.
Yeah.
Number 1.
All right. Well, Adam,
listen, if you go down on Broadway and ask people what they're ranking Will Levis, he's number 1.
Well, also down on Broadway, they said it was the Cincinnati Firebirds and stuff, or whatever that fucking awesome video was.
I love that video.
All right, Adam, thank you for joining us.
As always.
Jay, thank you for joining us.
Yep, no problem.
Zags, thank you for joining us. And Zags was on the Chazcast this past week, so thank you for that.
Shitting on ZZ Top. Let's go.
Shitting on ZZ Top.
Nice.
Still got to get Adam on the Chazcast. Jay hasn't been on in a while either, so
Yep.
we'll get you guys all on. So, all right, guys, this is the Fantasy Football Bros podcast. You can find us on YouTube, and you can find us on wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget about my other show, The Chazcast. All right, guys, until next week, we'll see you then. Peace.
See you, boys.
Later,
Yeah,
guys.
boys.